Hi, this is Sonia Liebendorfer, and dementia is such a prevalent problem today that I actually want to do a series on it and cover all of the different types that there are. But this video is just going to be a brief overview because if we go into detail, it's going to end up being very long. So this is just a brief overview of the different types, and then I will be doing a video series on the different types to help recognize the symptoms of them and as far as treatments go. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, I want to first go over the main four types of dementia. There is vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and Alzheimer's dementia. Now, I know that on the front it said that there were five types on the very cover, so this is not a typo. I'm going to explain about the fifth type and why some people actually consider there to be five types in just a little bit. So just be patient. We're almost there. Now, what I want you to remember about vascular dementia is it is actually due to the impeded blood flow to a section of the brain. Now, this can be caused by many things. It can be caused by an ischemic stroke, which is a stroke that's caused by a blood clot, or due to some type of inclusion, which could be a tumor or a mass, or it can be from a buildup of cholesterol on the vessels, which causes a blockage. It can also be from hypertension if the vessels get to where they're hardened and they don't really allow good flow and they're not flexible anymore. So there's any number of things that can affect the blood flow through the brain. But the main thing to remember is that due to that impeded blood flow, there's going to be a loss of function to that part of the brain because the blood can't get the nutrients to where they need to go to feed that area, which is going to result in loss of function or cell death if that area is not corrected. If it is a blood clot and they can do an intervention in time, then it can be restored. But cell death happens very quickly because the brain relies on two things. It relies on sugar and it relies on oxygen to function. And if either one of those two things are impeded in getting to a part of the brain, then brain damage results from cell injury and then eventually cell death. Now, Lewy body dementia is a type of dementia that's associated with Parkinson's disease. Now, symptoms often start at least a year before you actually start seeing the signs of Lewy body dementia. It can take a lot shorter period of time, or it can take a lot longer, as in years, before you actually start to see this type of dementia. It depends on how fast the Parkinson's is progressing. There is a type that progresses very slowly, and there is a type that is very aggressive. And it depends on the type of Parkinson's that a person has. One thing to remember about this type of dementia, once this starts progressing, it progresses rapidly once these signs of dementia start. All right, the frontotemporal dementia is a one that's not very common or it's not diagnosed very much, one of the two. The frontal part of the brain, which is right behind your forehead, is the part of the brain where the control center is for personality. And the temporal parts of the brain are on the sides of the brain on the right and left side. And those are the parts of the brain that control movement. Now, the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body's movement, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body's movement. So, as long as you remember that the opposite side of the brain affects the opposite side of the body, you have it down pat as to where a problem may be with the brain when you start to see symptoms present. Now, this type is very difficult to diagnose because there are very wide mood swings. There's very little patience and tolerance. There's hardly any inhibitions. They can be very argumentative. They can be very combative. And if there's difficulty with the Broca area of the brain is on the right temporal part of the brain, also along with the movement and function. And if that is affected, the speech is also going to be affected. They'll have different difficulty expressing what they want to say, or they will recall a wrong word to try to express something. So, inability to be able to convey their thoughts will frustrate them even more. Sometimes you have paranoia and delusions and hallucinations, and feelings that they're being persecuted can be common with this type. And there's a younger onset than the other types of dementia with this, and it's usually ages 45 to 64, but it can even be earlier. Alzheimer's is perhaps the form of dementia that most people are familiar with, and it's the one that people live with the longest. People start out with just small lapses in short-term memory, like they're unable to recall a person's name or recall events properly, but then this progresses to an inability to reason and make decisions, and rational thought becomes a problem. Then it progresses to incontinence, and then eventually it progresses to immobility. Now, the beginning to the end can last well over a decade, and it's very hard for family members to watch a gradual decline. But unfortunately, that is what happens with Alzheimer's. Now, what is sometimes called the mixed dementia is considered to be the fifth type. Some people don't consider it a fifth type because it's not definitive, a different kind. It's actually just a mixture of different types. So there is some argument whether or not there's actually a fifth type of dementia. But we're going to consider it a fifth type here. The main thing that you need to know about mixed dementias is it makes the person very difficult to deal with emotionally because it's one of the hardest struggles a caregiver has, because they can be dealing from vascular dementia and Alzheimer's, or vascular dementia in the frontotemporal, or vascular dementia in the lewy body, or it can be a mixture of any of the types. So the problem that makes it so difficult to be able to handle these patients as a caregiver is they think they can make good decisions. They think their judgment is sound. They don't realize that there is a problem with decision making. And when they do realize there's a problem with their decision making, they get very defensive, and they start with the name calling and the insults and everything that can be very hurtful to you as a caregiver. So you have to remember, whenever they start hurling the insults, that they're realizing that they have deficits. They're not ready to admit that they have deficits. And so they're hurling insults at you, but you have to remember that it's the disease talking, and it's not your loved one talking to you that's saying these things. That doesn't mean it's not any less hurtful, because they can say very hurtful things that really just cut you to the core. But you have to remember that it's the illness talking. It's not that person talking. And you have to just kind of put it aside and realize that, hey, they're not in their right mind. I need to kind of dismiss this as hard as it may be. The one thing that I wanted to look at, and it's really kind of hard to nail down the numbers because there are such fluctuations with the percentages, and that is the prevalence of dementia and just how common it is in people today. Now, as far as Alzheimer's, the information that I found said that it is the most common type and it is found 60 to 80% of the cases of dementia involve Alzheimer's disease. Now, the second type was actually tied. Vascular dementia was listed as the second most common type, followed by lewy-body dementia, which it was tied for the second most common type. Now, the least common is the frontotemporal, which affects 45 to 64 years old. But, this can affect people as young as in their 30s. And I think the reason that there's a lot of confusion as far as that particular diagnosis is it may be confused, especially in the 30s and 40s, with a mental illness diagnosis, and they don't recognize it right away for what it is, which is the frontotemporal dementia. If you are a caregiver for someone that has dementia, or if you have a friend or family member that has dementia, I highly recommend that you watch the video series on YouTube of Keepa Snow. She has a wonderful ability of helping people to learn patience with these people because she helps you understand what it is like for that person that has dementia and how their perception of the world and the way they see things and the way they view things is kind of skewed due to the illness. And she helps you see and understand things through the way they see it through their eyes. And she is a tremendous learning resource that's free to you on YouTube. So I encourage you to take advantage of her information that she has on dementia on the web because you will be glad that you did because she is wonderful in helping you understand so you can be more patient with these patients and realize that it's the illness that talks, all of the stuff that doesn't make sense and is sometimes hurtful. It's not the person. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to the videos. I want to give you an opportunity to subscribe to my Brighteon channel and my BitChute channel. I am RN for a Healthier You at both of those. I post a lot of content there that I can't post on YouTube because YouTube censors me so much. So I want to also give you the opportunity to subscribe to my channel to have an opportunity to either donate or to have an opportunity to subscribe to help my work. I'm working very hard right now to help get my information out there in terms of my book about the tools to survival, about overcoming domestic abuse. I am working with Christine Stone of SiriusXM Media to get that book finished. So if this is a project that you are interested in helping with, if you go to Subscribe Star, there is a place for you to donate to help to get that book finished as soon as possible. Christine and I started on this venture last August, and we have been delayed in getting it done because she hasn't been able to get into the New York studios. She has been stuck at home because SiriusXM has been having everybody work at home. But she is supposed to be able to start going back into the studio in New York here shortly, in which she will be able to start working on my book again and getting it finished. So if you're interested in contributing, there is a $2,000 expense outstanding to get that audiobook finished and published to get it to the hands of the people that need it. I wanted to make my book an audiobook because I want it to be able to put in the hands of people that are being sex trafficked. It's going to be easier for them to have the information on how to escape in a form that they can listen to versus a book that they have to carry around and risk being confiscated from them. So, as I said, that is the project work that I have listed on Subscribestar. If you're interested in contributing to helping me get that project done and getting that information out there, it will be most appreciated. And please check out the Brighteon channel and BitChute channel. I'm RN for a Healthier You to help with getting information out there and share that information on these channels because I share things on there that you won't see on YouTube. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.